Hi guys, Fig Selector here. It's been an awful long time since I've uploaded a video. So, the first video of this year is all about the problem with NECA. I don't want to badmouth them, but you know, they make great, fantastic looking figures. They always have done. The problem is quality control, and what I mean by that is how good the figure is at the end of the production line. Obviously things can happen with figures in transit coming from manufacturers to retailers, whatever, but I'm going to go through virtually nearly half of my NECA collection here about issues I've had after spending hundreds of pounds on these products. Now, the biggest thing for me as a collector is maintaining the health and well-being of that figure. And what I mean by that is looking after it the best way you can and minimise any damage whatsoever. I mean, when it comes to selling your collection and your figures have got chips and bumps and accessory damage and stuff, it's gonna lower what money you're gonna get back. So I'm gonna just randomly go through some of the issues I've had with my figures. How many have I got in front of me? 11 figures I've got in front of me today. That's virtually nearly half of my NECA collection. I do have a lot more other figures from other companies. I do have like nearly 40 Marvel Select figures from Diamond Select, and percentages wise, when it comes to damage, there's very low damage on my Marvel Select figures. Accessory damage, figure damage, they just seem to be a bit more robust. Okay, so first up, I'm going to go into one of my prized possessions, one of my Predator figures. Now, this figure is increasingly hard to come by, and if you had to buy it in a box, still sealed, you're going to be looking at upwards of between, I don't know, 48 to 53 pounds, depending. But I've had this figure since 2012. Now, as a whole, he's stood the test of time really well, but unfortunately, if I just put him there facing well, like a naughty boy, unfortunately you can see here, I've had to glue my figure, glue the accessory, because it just snapped. It fell backwards and it snapped so easily. They're very brittle. There doesn't seem to be any play in them whatsoever. So, knock on wood, that's going to be the only ever issue I'm going to have with this figure, is that's damaged, and that's it. So there's one example of damages that can occur to your NECA figures, accessory damage being one of the main ones. We'll go to this guy here, Ahab. Now, as a whole, it looks okay, but I've had to re-glue this, I've had to re-glue that, and I've had to re-glue this, because they just decided to snap one day, you know. Also, I found when I purchased this figure, if you can just see there, well, if you can't make it out, the shoulder cannon's actually held in with blue tack, the actual cannon bit, because with a lot of these NECA figures, they have little metal pins inside them, whether it's joints or joints on your shoulder cannons or whatever. They've got these little metal pins in. Now, I was shocked when I first purchased it that I took it straight out of the box, I put the shoulder cannon on, and within 5 minutes the pin had actually fallen out and I'd lost it. So I've had to fix it, well, make a temporary fix with blue tack. I don't want to glue these things obviously, but for me I had to use blue tack. So there's another issue. Let's find this one, Jungle Predator, Concrete Jungle. If you've noticed straight away, you'll notice here one of the things has snapped off. I've also got a spare head with this, and one of the mandibles snapped off when it nosedived off my shelf. So I'm thank God that's the only damage on it. But that's two damages right there on one figure. He's lost a spearhead on on the part of his gun, and he's lost one of the mandibles on his spare head. One of the tips has snapped off. Little things like that, where it's the break so easy. So that's another one. Straight away, there's a lot like what? 1, 2, 3 issues. Oh, I've obviously lost the back on this Ahab figure as well. That fell out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues with 3 figures. Right. Now let's get to, is it Manda Ripley? Yeah. Now as a whole, this figure's in good condition. The majority of my figures are in good condition. But unfortunately, this thing here, as you can see, it's pretty warped, but that's how it came in the box. But unfortunately, it nosedived off the shelf and this thing snapped off. It snapped off several times and I've had to glue it back on. So that's 6 issues with 4 figures. Now here we have Bishop from the Alien line. As you can see, it's an older figure. Never came with many accessories. Its articulation's not brilliant on it either, because it's like sealed inside its body and it don't really move. But the issue I had with this figure, straight out of the box, so as I took it out of the box, this arm snapped off. It just snapped off. You know, a lot of people think, you might be handling a bit heavy-handed, but it's not the case. If you move them slightly and things snaps, then that's not you overhandling them. That's a quality control issue. You shouldn't have to buy a figure and then treat it like boiling the bagfish and shove it in a pan of water, boiling for 5 minutes just so you can move the joints. That's just ridiculous. So here we now have 5 figures. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 issues with 5 figures. Figure number 6, Endoskeleton, another NECA figure. Now, problem with these figures I find is, of course, these joints here. These joints here have got little metal pins in, as you can see. Now, I've had to shove a bit of wire in mine, because as you can see, it's slightly sprained, is that plastic, so that's why the pin fell out. So that's another issue. How things break easy. All in all, it's a great looking figure. It's a fantastic figure to own in your collection, but little things like that are just so fucking annoying, you know. So that's another one. Now let's stick to the Robocop line, and here's a future Robocop. Yet again, this is nosedived off a shelf a few times, but it's a robust figure. There's no paint chip or all like that. But here we go again. I've had to shove a bit of wire in that joint there, because the wire came out, the metal pin fell out. So crap. But it's a great looking figure nonetheless. But it's just little issues like that. Nearly every single one of my figures I've had an issue. So that's another one. Endoskeleton time. Now these are really flimsy. I mean, they really are. So I mean, if we look here, you can see straight away there the thing snapped. It snapped there. His thumb snapped off as well when I was trying to put the gun in his hand, and I glued his thumb in the wrong way, so I need to take that off and reposition it. But that's just the thing with NECA. The fact that the thumb snapped off when you're trying to put a gun in his hand, for crying out loud, is ridiculous. And then the these two pistons here on the side of his body. Very, very fragile. I've tried gluing it and it won't hold. Because I don't know, because of plastics, I don't know. You see, just falling out there. Just falling out. Not good. Not good. When these things cost about 30 quid a piece and they're breaking too easy, it's an issue. So that's another figure. So that's that. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 figures I've gone through. And all had issues. Now here's another one of my prized possessions. This came out. When did this come out? 2015. This is roughly 4 years old. I've seen this one on eBay for about 40-50 quid. The blade's alright. There's no issues with anything snapped on the figure. No damaging like that. His blade's okay. Everything's cool like that. But anyone who's on this figure, bearing in mind this thing doesn't actually come with this figure. It comes with one of the alien figures. I just use it there as an accessory. So as a whole, this figure in itself is okay. But the problem I find is, of course, his accessory. Now, anyone who owns this figure knows that this actually comes on a staff, and it's sort of like penetrated over the top of his head. Even tip on top of his head has snapped off. The staff or the spear, that's snapped into about 4 or 5 different pieces. So you're gonna have an hard time trying to find another one of these. You're not going to find it at all. It's not easy to find one of these staffs for this figure, so you're pretty much screwed on that front. So now I just use that as like an accessory for a diorama. In fact, I use it on this big guy here. I put it on its stand here on the floor, on his base, should I say. So the problem I have with this figure is the actual figure in itself is not damaged. None of the accessories are damaged or out like that. But the problem is with the Assassin Predator is the fact that it doesn't stand up. This figure does not stand up. So it cost about a real NECA, real one of these will cost you about 55 quid, not 34 quid as you can see on eBay, because they're knockoffs. The actual NECA figure will cost you about 55 quid. Now I've also had to purchase his stand to stand him on, because it just does not stand due to the design of the figure. It's not NECA's fault, it's just how the design of the figure is. But that's the issue. When I bought it, it wouldn't stand up, it kept falling off its shelf, and I think for 55 quid I don't want it damaging, do you know what I mean? So I tend to just use that broken up thing as a base accessory, just to put at the base of his feet. But even still, you can see here on joint there how it's loose. It's leans to one side, like the mould's not perfect. You can see going down his abdomen how it seems to curve round. He's not straight, and when you do straighten him out, it seems to be leaning to one side, and you can see this horrendous gap here. That's, you know, when you try to do that pose where he's got a fugitive predator, when, you know, he's holding it out extended with one hand, my figure just falls over. Even base can't hold it. You know, it's ridiculous. Go on. There you go, autofocus. So I have a problem with that one. Just mainly a standing issue rather than damage. Now here's another one. Now this is my Alien Warrior. This is an Ultimate Edition. It came with the actual small alien that other Predator's holding in its hand. But what did this cost me? 38 quid. 38 quid this figure cost for an Ultimate Edition. Now problem is I had this figure for months, no damage, no issues. I looked out a window one day closed window, not overly excessive hard, but I just shut window, and this guy decided, I know, I'm going to go fucking flying off that shelf. Fallen off that shelf a couple of times, never an issue, but because it were a particularly colder day, oh, guess what? Guess what? His head snapped off. So, 38 quid down pan. Now, if I had to sell that again, what am I going to get for that? What, 10? 10 quid for that? Fiver? I don't know. So, when I put all my figures together, right, let's get them all stood up, all together. We can all stand there and all have a look at these fantastic figures. Can't even get it to stand up now. So we've got all these figures here. We'll stand them all up if we can. There you go. You see, this just fell off my fucking table and fucking thing snapped. You see what I mean? It's fallen on a soft landing and it snapped off. Do you know, for the money you pay out for these things, they should it'll extend test at time a bit better. Can't get any of my figures to stand up anyway. No, flipping amazing. So there you go, guys. I've got all my figures leant against each other. There you go. Issues with collecting NECA figures. Right, the only way you're gonna make a NECA figure stand test of time is if you don't take the fucking thing out of the box. That's the only way you're gonna do it. Don't take it out of a box. If you want your figure to be prestige in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years time, keep it in the box, because if you take it out of the box, there's no chance that the thing's gonna get damaged or something's gonna fall off it or this, that and other. So unfortunately it's a negative one today with regard to NECA collecting, but it's a thumbs up from me, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that notification bell, and subscribe, and I'll bring up more content. So see ya.